Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my initial comparison between the Nike KD15 and the Nike KD16. So the KD15 retails for 150 bucks. There's some colorways are on sale for like 120 bucks because of course it is an older shoe. The KD16, however, they did raise the price by $10. It is 160 bucks, but if I remember correctly, there were some colorways of the KD15 that were 160 bucks. So we'll have to see if there are other colorways of the KD16 that are released, if they keep it at 150, and obviously it'll be the same price as the KD15. But if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. But let's get started right off with the Tracciones. And as you guys all know, the KD15 had GOAT traction, really freaking good. Yeah, amazing bite. It bites through dust really well. Stops on a dime on a clean court, even through dust, you have a really good stop as well. The only bad thing is the durability, right? These grooves are really thin and the rubber is actually kind of soft, so obviously not great for outdoor use, but overall, if you're playing on an indoor court, amazing traction, right? But here in the KD16s, I haven't played in them yet, but just trying it on my wood floors, the bite does not seem very good, you know? And obviously I've played in the KD15s, and while I was filming the KD16s, I tried the KD15 as well on my wood floors, and it was still biting really well. So hopefully, you know, I just need to break in the KD16 or something like that, but the bite just does not seem very good. Obviously we have a translucent rubber here in this colorway, and we have gears for the outsole pattern. Durability, however, does seem a lot better here in the KD16. So if you're going to be playing on an outdoor court, I guess the KD16 is the better option. But for right now, for my initial comparison, the KD15 does feel a lot better. And also, it has a lot more squeak. I mean, squeak of course has nothing to do with performance, but the KD15 has a very loud high-pitched squeak. The KD16 does not really squeak at all, which kind of sucks too. So there's that. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, they're both pretty damn smooth, right? So here in the KD15, we have a kind of a rounded shape, right? But the actual foam is quite soft, and then here in the forefoot we have a nice rounded shape and a good amount of forefoot flex. And it actually flexes a little bit easier than the KD16. The KD16 here in the heel, it feels pretty damn similar to the KD15, you know? Nice rounded shape, exposed midsole, and then here in the forefoot we have a nice curved shape. But it does feel a little bit stiffer, right? And it's a little bit hard to kind of flex here in the forefoot because of this plate, right? It's just this plastic plate, and it's not just in here in the midfoot, it extends all the way here into the forefoot. So it does have a nice little kind of like rebound back as well, a nice little springiness. I mean, obviously if it was carbon fiber, it would be a little bit springier, but with this plastic, it's still like not that bad, right? I mean, the heel to toe transition does feel very smooth in both of the shoes and feels very similar. It's just the KD16 feels a little bit stiffer here in the forefoot. Now moving on to the cushioning setup. So I guess from the KD12, right? The KD12, 13, 14, and 15, we've had a full-length Zoom Strobel setup, and they switched it up finally here in the KD16s, right? So as far as the foam goes, they're both, I feel like they're both using Cushline. Here in the 15, it was Cushline. The KD16 is probably Cushline as well. They both have nice compressions. You know, it's pretty damn soft here in the heel. It's not super clunky or anything. I do like that. However, what's underneath your foot, right, for step and comfort and underfoot cushioning is different. And obviously the KD15 had full-length Zoom Strobel, which feels very nice. It's super bouncy. You have a lot of compression right underneath your foot. You have a lot of PSI as well. Here in the KD16s, however, here in the heel, we have an Air Strobel unit. And in my personal opinion, I feel like I like Air Strobel a little bit better just because sometimes for the Zoom Strobel unit, it does get it hurts my feet a little bit because the PSI is pretty high, and there's that kind of like tension or pressure underneath your foot like at all times when you're standing up, so it does hurt a little bit. But here in the Air Strobel unit, it feels a lot more comfortable. It's a little bit softer as well, and when you're walking around, it's like soft, right? But when you start kind of like moving, when you start jumping and running and playing basketball pretty hard, it does get a little bit bouncier. Obviously not as bouncy as Zoom right? But it still feels pretty nice. And then here in the forefoot, we have a pretty large volume zoom unit, but it's bottom loaded, which kind of sucks. I can't really feel the zoom unit all too well. Hopefully when I break it in and actually play in it, it does get a little bit bouncier in the forefoot, but obviously the KD15 is way bouncier here in the forefoot as well. So like I said, I like the heel air unit a little bit better, but the forefoot is pretty underwhelming compared to the KD15s. And also the foam is pretty much the exact same, feels pretty damn similar. So in my personal opinion right now, I do like the KD15 setup a little bit more because of the forefoot, right? So there's that. Moving on to the materials. So they pretty much kept it the same as far as the overall materials go, right? Because they're both mesh materials. However, here in the KD15, it's just this mesh, you know what I mean? Here in the KD16, it's this mesh, but there's also kind of like an underlaying material, which does make it feel a little bit stiffer here in the toe box. And also we have a good amount more overlays, a good amount more fuse here, like at the tip of the toe. It kind of like goes around the entire shoe, right? The KD15, it didn't really have that. It was just really, really freaking soft. So it does feel a little bit different on foot, right? So if you want something a little bit softer, something that conforms to your foot better, then the 15 is going to be a little bit better, but it's not as supportive because there's no like material backing it, and there's also no kind of like overlays, right? The KD16, however, it's still like really soft, you know, it still conforms to your foot well. It's just not as well as the 15s. And obviously it does feel a little bit more supportive too, so that feels nicer in the KD16, but obviously it depends on what your preference is, right? Here in the midfoot, we have kind of like this cage going on in both of the shoes. Here we have this plastic cage on the lateral and medial side for the 15s, and also for the 16 we have this kind of like shark fin, right, on both sides of the shoe. And then for the tongue is actually pretty much the exact same. It feels actually the exact same, right? There's a little bit of padding. It feels nice on top of your foot. They're both also half booty construction tongues, giving you better overall one-to-one fit. And also here in the ankle area, it's pretty much identical, right? Like, yeah, the foam pretty much feels the exact same as well. So here in the back of the shoe, like for the tongue and also the ankle area, feels pretty much the exact same. But the only difference, I guess, is kind of like the overall material does feel a little bit stiffer and also a little bit more supportive here in the KD15 for, I guess, like toe box, right? So there is a material there. Moving on to the fit. So Nike's been doing something weird. I guess their shoes recently have been running short, right? So in the KD15, I went true to size and fits me extremely well. And then here in the 16, I went up half a size and it fits me extremely well. And they both fit me pretty much the exact same, right? Me going true to size here in the 15 and half a size up here in the 16, they both fit me the exact same, right? So my toes go pretty much right to the edge of the shoe, right? Lengthwise. Here in the toe box is freaking snug. And then also widthwise, they're pretty damn narrow. I would actually say the KD16 feels a little bit narrower, a little bit pointier than the 15s, but they're both pretty damn narrow. So yeah, for most people, if you want a snug fit, go true to size for the 15 and go up half a size for the KD16. But obviously if you want like a roomier fit, probably go up a full size for the KD16 and go up half a size for the KD15, right? So there's that. Moving on to the support and lockdown. I mean, the KD15, I had zero issues with lateral containment, right? We have the appropriate lateral counters in place here in the forefoot. We have this plastic cage here in the midfoot and an internal TPU heel counter. And the KD16 is feeling pretty good as well, right? We have this fuse acting kind of like a sidewall. It stiffens up the material here in the forefoot. Here in the midfoot, we have this plastic kind of shark fin going on. And here in the heel, we have an internal TPU heel counter. So yeah, lateral containment actually feels like it's gonna be pretty good here in the KD16. And also lateral stability, let's see which shoe is wider. Ooh, interesting. The KD16 is actually a little bit wider, it looks like, just by a couple of millimeters. But the KD15, I didn't have any issues with lateral instability, and the KD16 is a little bit wider, so it'll probably be good for that as well. But of course, the KD15 did have heel slippage, and it was kind of bad for most people. I know some people that were, it was terrible. For me, it was all right. I could get used to it. It wasn't terrible, you know what I mean? It wasn't a deal breaker for me. The KD16 actually feels like it has better heel lockdown, right? So if you look at it, here, like where your Achilles is, the KD16 actually cups into your like foot, into the back of your foot a little bit more, or actually a lot more than the KD15. The KD15 is a little bit more of a flatter shape when you look at the actual foam. So KD16 probably not gonna have, you know, heel slippage, right? And now moving on to the weight of the shoe. I feel like the KD15 feels a little bit lighter maybe, but it'll probably be very, very similar in weight, right? So 12.75 ounces for the KD15 and 13.2 ounces for the KD16. So like 0.5 ounces, not a huge deal, but definitely is a little bit lighter. I wonder what it is. Maybe it's probably because of the overlays. This kind of material going around the entire shoe. And also, like I said, there's an underlaying material that makes this kind of mesh material a little bit stiffer. So that's probably why it's a little bit heavier, but it does feel pretty damn similar on foot. Now moving on to the aesthetics. I don't know. I feel like the KD15 looks a little bit better, but just like the colorways that came out of the KD15 just don't look that good in my personal opinion. KD16, this colorway is pretty damn sick, but I definitely feel like overall silhouette, I like the KD15 a little bit better. So tell us what you guys think looks better down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, the KD15 is feeling way better, right? Like the material feels a little bit thinner, you know, it's a little bit lighter. The cushion with the folding zoom stroll feels better, and the traction feels a lot better too. So yeah, and also I guess it is a little bit cheaper by 10 bucks. But yeah, the KD16, the traction, I mean, obviously I still need to play in it, but right now the traction is not feeling too good, you know. But like I said, once I play in it, once I break it in, hopefully the traction does get better, and also hopefully the zoom unit here in the forefoot, like it's a bottom loaded zoom unit, hopefully that gets a little bit bouncier as well. But for the most part, because of those reasons, right now for my initial comparison, the KD15 is feeling better. But I guess the only good thing though is that the heel slippage, that issue seems to be fixed here in the 16. So there's that, but for the most part, I'll probably recommend the KD15 from this initial comparison. But anyways, that about concludes this video. Hope this video helped you guys out. Again, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I'll try to leave the link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.